One, two, three. All right. Welcome to the Hawthorne and Maya Show.
Hey guys!
Episode 5. Well, yesterday, I didn't tell you this yesterday, but when I was listening to the Queen of Herbie podcast, she said if you and your partner or you and yourself can make it to podcast number 6, you have a greater chance of making it. We're one episode away,
Yes!
baby. Okay. Also, at the same
Happy
time,
dance!
I did listen to Queen Herbie before this podcast. If you follow me on any of the socials, you'll see me dancing like a fucking freak. Pardon my language.
Hey, we're adults, we can swear.
Yeah, I know, but I'm hello.
The AB Hey, you know what? I learned
You when you cuss, and it's
I
like I'm a grown adult. I waited 18 years to use these colorful words. Dang it! And then you have
right.
social media telling you, "Oh, you'll be shadow banned, and your good content will be
Hey,
hidden because you used."
I, I learned my ABCs of swear words as a child, growing up around my mom.
Well, yeah, yeah. One time I looked at my mom. I didn't look at her, but we were doing homework. I think I was in 4th grade, and I go, "Mom, this is fucking hard." And she looked at me, and I went,
Oh my God.
"I'm gonna let it slide. I agree. Don't say that in front of your grandmother." Okay.
You know, it's funny you should say that because the day I had my youngest daughter, I was FaceTiming my mom and we have a very strained relationship. I went no contact with her a couple years ago. And the day that I had her, my grandmother, who has, I believe, dementia, my aunts, and my uncles came up to visit me in the hospital. And when I was video chatting with my mom, I told her my daughter's name, and she was mad because I didn't name it after her mom, and that I had Jenny on my dad's birthday. And she hung up immediately. And my grandmother walks by, and was like, "What a bitch!" And I'm like, "Grandma!" My aunt's in the background, like, Kaylee, shut up! Don't say anything or at all. And I'm like, you know what? At least you said what she was thinking.
Hey. Okay, I also want to put a little disclaimer. If you're watching it on YouTube, if you're watching this episode on YouTube, or even if you're listening, I don't know if I'm going to get vocal, but if you follow the food nanny on Instagram, you know about her cow, Franny. She's in labor right now, and what you guys don't see is behind the scenes. I have it up on the news, on the live feed, and they're pulling out a calf, and I literally have to keep the phone in front of this so I don't keep seeing it. So if you see me like kind of go like this and go and have like a freaking shocked face, my kids are fine. I'm literally watching a cow mama give birth.
Yes, and also for all of our listeners and viewers, this is going to be a trigger warning because there's going to be, I
Oh,
don't want to say super gory stuff.
before the trigger warning, I want to put out something about our Apple podcast situation.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll go ahead and do that too. So we are having some technical difficulties with our Apple platform. Some reason the audio is not working on it. So if you try to listen to it, please report it. I have submitted a ticket. Right now it's just a waiting game. We don't know how long it's going to take. But just do that for us because hopefully it'll get it pushed to the top to where they can take care of it ASAP.
Yeah, because
And then with
we don't want
yeah,
people that
and
listen to Apple to feel a certain way that they have to come over to Spotify just to listen to us or go to YouTube
right,
or whatever. So
right. We're just trying to fix it, but it's going to take some time.
we are working on
But
it, and
like I
we're
said,
also asking for help.
with the trigger warning, there are going to be some thematic events in it that could, cause you guys flashbacks or something like that. So just as a heads up, just to be on the safe side, we're going to announce that trigger warning now before we get too far into it. So
this could be very much a very inner child themed podcast. So in that definitely goes back to our mental health mission. So with that said, let's do our mommy check-in. How are you?
I am doing wonderful this week. I finally got some good news. I found a stay at home position, a remote work from home position with Anthem. So I'm pretty excited about that. I know I'm excited. Yes, so I definitely got that finally going for me. I'm super happy about it. One of the things that I've started doing recently is I know a lot of people will journal, and I know a lot of people will make use of affirmations. And something that I tried to do is I tried to combine the two, and I write letters to myself in my journal. And honestly, that's really helped put a perspective on things and helped keep me in the right mindset. I don't do it same time every day. I do it
Sorry,
either
the
in the
baby's
morning or
born.
at night. The baby's born?
Yeah, the baby was born. Okay, I'm sorry. Go, 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 go.
Yay! Awesome. But yeah, it's been a bit stressful this week, but with my kids being on fall break right now, today through Friday, I'm honestly excited for it because I get to spend some time with them and get to spoil them and play with them and stuff. So I've got some stuff planned for them, like the library. We're gonna do some PlayStation time. But yeah, overall, it's been a bit easier this week and not as mentally stressful as prior weeks. So,
Okay.
but
Yay.
yeah, but what about you? How are you doing mentally?
Uh, kind of heavy, kind of. Um, Today marks 18 years since my dad passed away. I was 17. He died of a heart attack in his sleep, and apparently the last thing he watched was the Lakers, which was his favorite team. So it's kind of like, okay, at least he died of watching the Lakers.
Right.
And a little backstory between me and Daddy. My dad was I think I said this in the backstory, but my dad was a heroin junkie. Like he and my mom had to separate from him while I was really little, yada yada yada. Growing up, I didn't see my dad. I didn't know my dad. Or I knew of him, I knew what he looked like, I knew his name, all of that, but I didn't know my dad. We didn't have a relationship, yada yada yada. Hello to the daddy issues. And boy, did that and ain't that connected to one of my stories right today? Like, dear Lord Jesus. so, um, so towards the end of his life, I feel like he must have sensed it because randomly, when I was like my 17th year of life, he would call me once a week. He would call me once
Hmm.
a week. We would talk. We would have conversations. I got so freaking excited, going, "Oh my god! I'm finally getting the relationship I'm supposed to have. Oh my god! I remember my dad's
Hmm.
voice now. I'm so excited. Like this is good. This is like I wasn't thinking death. Then
Hmm.
the phone call stopped for like a month, and then I get woken
Hmm.
up 18 years ago at 6 o'clock in the morning to my mom very not she wasn't happy, but she was very like, when someone has to tell you someone died, that energy. I woke
That
up,
that feeling, like, that's making me tear up right now.
yeah,
That's
my
not
mom
something that
looked
any
at
mother.
me and she goes, I need to tell you something. And I said, who died? And she looked at me and I was assuming I even remember to this day going, okay, did my grandma Ida finally die? Like,
Hmm.
because it was bringing me back flashbacks of when my mom told me about my grandpa, her husband dying. And she
Hmm.
goes, she was like, she couldn't even get it out. And she goes, fuck it, your dad died. I went, what? And I kid you not, that whole year of dealing with that, I was a different person. And I know my mom will be like, yeah, I don't know who that girl was. I lost my virginity. I snuck out, lost my virginity to two guys. Like, I've never really like talked about that publicly, but talk about mental issues, okay? Like,
I
and
mean,
on
and
top
that's
of that, I convinced the first guy who was allergic to latex to put a rubber on. He did it because he was in love with me. The other guy, I had a crush on. I'm not going down that rabbit hole, but I almost made a man's penis fall off, Kaylee. The first time I like that, and then after I found out, well, wow, I have a lot of power over men. Then I felt like shit. You know,
Right.
but anyway, like it was just a really hard time for the first few years. I was good. And then when I had William 5 years ago, that's when the depression started coming back. And then
Mm-hmm.
it got heavier when AJ was born. It's like, right, another boy. I don't get to see him be a grandpa too, or like another child. Like
Right.
even if it was a girl, it would, you know.
That
So
grandpas are different.
yeah, yeah, they are. They are. Like it's funny when my grandma Ida died. I didn't even cry. I was like, okay, I'm like good. You know? I know that sounds horrible, but she wasn't the kindest to my mom and I. Like even when I had to call her for my dad's death certificate so I could get Social Security, she goes, "Is that the only reason why you called me?" And I said, "Yeah, because like up until then, you guys didn't give a fuck about me. So yeah, that's all I need. Thank you."
That my great grandma Mary had a burning hatred for all of the females in my family except for my mom.
My grandma Ida couldn't stand my mother because she wasn't Jewish, which made me not Jewish, which made so we were like the devil's
Black sheep.
we were the black sheep, which made him the black sheep.
Hmm.
And
Well, you can't control who you fall in
no,
love with, though.
no, no,
Love
and
happens to
you
you. You don't
definitely cannot
choose it.
control who your parents are. Really,
Hmm.
you know, maybe you can. Well, maybe you can. No, because if you believe in that right before you come down to earth and go into your mother's womb, they give you
That soul contract.
that soul contract. But I don't think there's any like, oh, can I change my dad for Brad Pitt instead? Like I heard Brad Pitt's gonna be really cute and really like up there. Like can I
Or Johnny Depp.
I don't want Johnny Depp
I'd rather
as
have
my
him as my
daddy. I
husband. I'm
want
not
him
going to
to be
lie.
my daddy, quote unquote. But like, sorry, Johnny, you'll still forever always have my heart.
Hey, you know what, Johnny? We are going to drool over you as much as we can because we find you highly attractive for your age. So if you're ever in Indiana, hit me up, please. Or in LA, hit Sarah up because she wants to see you
I'll
really
treat you
bad.
right. I will treat
I
you
love that
right.
face that you just made.
I'll treat you right. I promise. We can have a mega pint together.
It's okay. I had a spicy dream about Elon Musk last night. Not gonna lie. If we're gonna be honest.
Yeah, wow. Okay, so this year, going back into my mommy's question, I feel really good, but I don't know if it's because leading up to this, I'm like, okay, next week, like last week, I'm like, okay, next week is the day. Like you know how when you gear up for someone's mentally, like that's what I was doing. Last night I was like, you're gonna go into work mode. You're gonna wake up in work mode. You're just gonna work. You're gonna get stuff done for pharmacy. You're gonna get stuff done for the podcast. You're gonna be a fucking awesome mother. You're gonna cook. You're gonna clean. You're not gonna think about your daddy. Right?
Right.
But even now, as I think about him, I'm not sad today. Like, I don't know if it's because before this podcast, I went on a freaking dance party marathon and like I moved my body and like I literally danced in the sunlight. Like, if
Well,
you,
and that does help. It
yeah,
does help release endorphins and whatnot in your body. A lot of people will do that, especially when they're feeling down. Like there's a lady on Instagram that I follow that is like, okay, if you're feeling sad, do this dance with me.
yeah, like you guys get it. If you're okay, I want to say this to anyone who is listening, and this is definitely for the people that don't have any physical body issues where that's stopping them from actually getting up and dancing. If you
Hmm.
have a sore back but you could still move, get up and dance, push yourself. But if you have a medical condition or a physical condition that makes you not want to dance, don't feel a certain way when I say this. Like if you can move in your wheelchair, if you can, however you're stationary, if you have the
Hmm.
ability to move without it messing up your body or messing up the issue, move your body and go in the sun. Go in the sunlight.
Yes.
If you don't have the Michael Jackson skin disease or any kind of skin disease that doesn't allow you to be in the sun, be in the sun. Get out of your house. Like,
They do. There are light bulbs. Okay, there are real quick, there are light bulbs that were created that do mimic the sun's light without it actually being the sun. So if you can't go out into the sun, go to the store and grab those light bulbs and use that too. That's another alternative. And that's actually well, and that's actually something that was recommended for those with like depression or ADHD or other mental health issues. Having that mimicking light, it does help brighten up your world. And I actually use them myself in my apartment, and it does definitely help a great deal.
Yeah, no,
So
like if you were to see my reel today, and those who would follow me on Serafina on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, you will see me go, I'm dancing in the sunlight to upgrade my frequency. Like,
oh, I saw that. That was awesome.
Like, that's like the biggest tip is
The energy.
in the sunlight and find a happy song. Don't dance to a sad song, please. Don't put up like a fast-paced
Happy by
song.
Pharrell Williams. Remember that song from Despicable Me? Happy by Pharrell Williams?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that hello. Today my weapon of choice was Queen Herbie 5D, who I just got into her podcast and her husband's podcast. If you're into like spiritual personal development, House of Herbie podcast, go run. If you're a creative person, run. Like, why are you sitting on your ass right now? Go. Oh wait, no, you're sitting on your ass because you're giving us some attention. So thank you. So after us, go. Okay.
Yes, definitely.
So going into mom to daddy issues. Like, do you want me to kick this off, or do you want to kick this?
I let's see. Who kicked it off last week on Saturday? Was that you or me? Was that both of us? I mean, I don't mind.
Both of us, because we just went ham into it.
Okay, well, I can go ahead and do the introduction if you want.
Yeah, I was going to say that this isn't exactly a badass women of the week. This is like how
there are okay. So how well do you know your fairy tales? How well do you know them? And
as a woman,
you know, most of us growing up, we grew up on Disney. I am a 90s baby and I'm not ashamed of it. I love Disney. I really do. You know, being a girl mom, it's a perfect excuse to watch Disney. Now, I know a lot of you are familiar with like the story of Pocahontas, her true origins, who she really was, and everything. But where did Disney get these ideas from? Where do they come from? You know, and it's really surprising, especially with some of the research that I found out about some of these Disney stories. Like the two that I'm going to be talking about are Cinderella and Beauty and the Beast. It's truly shocking about where they come from, because a lot of these. Yeah, and a lot of these fairy tales, you know, even maybe not necessarily these ones that I'm talking about or ones that you might, but a lot of these fairy tales back then were used as a way of teaching children. And I know it sounds really weird, but they didn't have the knowledge that we have today on how to raise their kids or how to explain the world about them. So what did they do? They wrote stories. And some of these stories are truly incredible, especially when you take a look at it from a broader perspective and see how many other countries or cultures have these same stories interwoven in their lives. So that is something that we are going to be talking about today. And I don't know, Sarah, did you want to maybe go first with the first fairy tale then?
Yeah, I kind of feel like it will lead into the daddy issues.
Okay, yeah, that's great.
To the daddy issues. Okay, so my two stories, and her and I are going to take turns, so we're not going to go like, here's our stories and all at once. Okay, so you divide it up. If you are watching this on YouTube, you're about to see my favorite fucking tattoo I've ever freaking have on my body to date, and it is. Oh my god! Can I twist my arm? If y'all can see her,
I love that.
there she
That is
is,
so pretty.
Ariel on my forearm with tribal markings for those who are not watching. She is she's a story within herself.
I can't wait till that new Little Mermaid comes out though, to be honest.
Yes. Yes.
I really, really love who they chose to play Ariel.
For for me, it took me back. I was like, what? Huh? She's not white. And I'm like, wait a minute. She doesn't have to be white. Like, stop it
Hmm.
there. She doesn't have to be white. And
So kudos for Disney for doing that.
it's definitely a change, but it's a change we needed. And honestly, I'm sure you've seen them, but what really like told me to get over it was seeing all the little black girls get excited that there's another black princess. I'm sorry. But that to me made the movie. Seeing those little girls cry like, oh, she's proud, and
Well,
they
even
were
yeah,
shocked. And I'm like,
there was a lot of hateful reactions too, which it doesn't matter.
I'm
Like it, it's like people whining about, oh, Jesus wasn't white. Well, guess what? Jesus is who he is to us, and
yeah,
not to be offensive towards any faith. But you go anywhere, you go to an African American church, you'll see a black Jesus. You go to Israel to a Christian church, you'll see an Israeli
yeah,
Jesus. You go to a Catholic church, you'll see a white Jesus.
yep.
I mean, it's how we understand these people in their lives
And
and to better put it into a perspective for us.
oh my god, just to go back to what you were saying about all the different countries. Like if you go to Israeli, you'll see an Israeli. If you go to West Hollywood, you'll see a black female Jesus.
That is awesome.
Just saying. But okay, so Little Mermaid, I did not go super deep into research because I didn't want to Salem witch trial you guys again and have you all be here for an hour and 36 minutes. I wanted this kind of short and sweet and not make you think like, oh my God, this girl word vomit. I word vomit, yes, but I try to control it the best I can.
Right.
So, okay, so I I basically went to go find the comparisons to the original story to the Disney story in Little Mermaid. And it's kind of it is messed up, but there are some similarities. Okay, so some of the similarities is Ariel, she sees Eric on the boat and she is instantly falling in love with those blue eyes. Right?
Yeah.
Talk about issue number one. I wanted myself a pale blue-eyed man, but yet I didn't find a pale blue-eyed man. I really wanted him to have an English
Hmm.
accent, but that didn't happen. I got a dark Salvadorian with dark poop eyes. He's still
Hey,
got
you know what they say about brown eyes, though, don't you?
oh yeah, well, my boy, I can't
We're
picture
full
them.
of shit.
I honestly I can't picture my boys with colored eyes now. I just can't. Like I think it would look weird with my eyes. But so there is that what are words today? So that is very much a true thing. She sees Eric, she falls in love, all of that. Something happens in the original story, just like the first one, where Ariel goes and saves Eric and all of that. In the story, though, in the original story, that is by Hans Christian Andersen, who is Dutch. And if you go to Solvang out here in California, which is a little Dutch community, that they have his statue. And I found it the last time we went. I had no idea he was there. And then I got all happy. Then I cried. And then my oldest gave him a kiss. And I'm like, I'm fucked. I must be paraphrasing. Um, so it was a very cute moment. But yeah, so anyone who when you go to Solvang, don't ask me what the streets are because if you ask me, all the streets kind of mush together in Solvang. So she falls in love with him and all of that. Here's one of the things that is mentioned in here that's actually really important to the end of the story is Mermaid. One in the original story, Ariel did not have a name. The Little Mermaid, that was her name. And yes, she was a young sea princess. So that part is very much still true to the Disney story. Also, she was naked. She did not have no stinking purple shell bra like we all know her to have. So that's one of the things that Disney had to do to kind of, I guess,
Water it down
commercializing.
to make it appropriate.
Yeah, but come on, nipples are nipples. Free the nipples.
Right?
um, and in the original story, Little Mermaid's grandma is actually quoted to say, "We lived for over 300 years and have an eternal soul." And apparently this is a really fun thing. And I bet you anything, the next time you go to the beach, you will never look at it the same way. According to Grandma, the sea foam that you see on top of the surface of the water, do y'all want to know what that is?
Hmm.
You're swimming in mermaid bodies. That apparently a way a mermaid is these she says cease to exist, aka die. They turn into the foam that's on the surface of the water. So the
Right.
next time you see the foam, say hi to the mermaid.
Right.
um, and so, all right, and so I'm assuming that in the original story that the mermaid is 16, just like Ariel was, and in the original story, the sea witch, aka Ursula, is only in it for 1 minute, or for one little minute, or one little section of the story. She isn't in the whole entire thing. Her role in the original story was she literally, just like Ariel goes to her and says, "I'm in love with a human. I want to see you. I want my legs." All of that. And she's, "Okay, fine, no problem. I'll do that for you." Gives her a potion, cuts her tongue, says, "Hey, you'll never be able to return to the sea again. But before you do that, you're going to have a horrible experience." She says it's like being poked with a double-edged sword, and walking will be like you're walking on knives.
On what?
Like you're stepping on knives when you walk.
Oh, okay.
And I'm
Okay.
sitting here
Wow.
going, and it kind of feels like that now, and I am a human. you know?
Okay.
So and she goes and she promises you will never return to the sea. Okay? So like fast forward to the ending. There's two. This ending this is the effed up part. Okay?
Hmm.
So in Disney, we all see Eric kills the sea witch and frees the sea king, try and marries Ariel, and then she's human and she lives in the castle, yada yada yada. All right, that's what we know. But in the original story, let me tell you, Little Mermaid murders Eric because she realizes being human sucks. She says, "No, this isn't me. This isn't the true me. I was born a mermaid. I belong to the sea." And you know what she does? She kills him and I think she brings, if I remember correctly, because I did have the story, I have the story at my mom's house, and I don't think she could find it to bring it to me. If I remember correctly, when she killed him, she brought
Hmm.
him down to the bottom of the sea. And I forgot to say that also, just like the original movie, you know how you see Eric's statue in the water and her little crow know the
Hmm.
critters? Same thing in the movie. Like, so what she did is because hello, when you kill a body, they float, right? If I remember this correctly, if I remember this imagery correctly, she brings him down, does the whole siren thing, right? And ties him to that statue so that he's there forever. She gets her internal soul back. She gets her fins back. She gets herself back. And he's
Hmm.
like, I don't need a man. But the daddy issues in this. Everyone says a good daddy issue. With the love that you didn't get as a kid, you find it in your teenage and late in your adult life in the men you date. And hello, did I not lose my virginity to 2 guys? Was I not a hoe because I was trying to look for fucking love? I looked in all the wrong fucking places. Like, come on. So, and also, this movie also gave, like I said before, it gave me really, really, really unhealthy characteristics that I wanted in a man that I did not get. And I do not appreciate that. And I know I'm not the only Disney 90s girl that's going, you look nothing like the prince in Disney. So, okay, so that is the end of Little Mermaid. Your turn.
That's crazy.
Right?
That's kind of like with Cinderella. So I was doing some research, and one of the things that I found out is that basically there are so many cultures out there that have their own version of Cinderella. In some cultures, she started out as a slave. One of the earliest known origins, and mind you, at this time period, you got to remember that there are a lot of oral traditions and not a lot of written down. There was in 7 BCE or between 7 BCE and 23 CE, there was a Greek author that wrote his version of Cinderella, and I know I'm going to butcher some names in a future notice. I'm sincerely sorry, but Rhodopis. And in it, Cinderella was a Greek courtesan, and she was bathing one day, and a bird or an eagle had actually gone and snatched her sandal up and dropped it in the lap of a pharaoh. Now, this pharaoh, obviously he searched for her, found her. I didn't go too far into it because, like you said, I don't want to do word vomit and just like da about it. But that is the Greek version. There's also some in Asia. They're dated in 860 CE, which I thought was really cool that, these cultures have these. And then now the first written account was by an Italian man by the name of, I'm going to butcher it, Giambattista Basile. I don't know. I'm so sorry to all the Italians out there if I mispronounced it. In 1634, and it was written in Pentamerone. Now there is another one that is mostly really closely related to the Cinderella that we know of with Disney. That is by Charles Perrault in France in 1697. That is another one that, like I said, that's the closest related one. A lot of these stories have different endings, whatnot, but the one that I want to focus most on is the Grimm's brother. The Grimm's brother in 1812, they wrote it. And in this story, Cinderella had planted a hazel twig. And when she would cry because of all of the abuse that she was enduring from her family, and it's also important to note that in some instances, Cinderella didn't have any siblings, or she had sisters and brothers. There was one version in which her dad never died, but mistreated her the same way the stepmother and step siblings did. So, but in this one, she planted the hazel twig, watered it with her tears because of everything that had been going on. And now there was a white bird that made its nest in this tree. And the night of the ball, that bird is the one that gave Cinderella the white dress. And it wasn't glass slippers either. It was golden, completely gold slippers compared to Disney's glass slipper with the white ball gown. I say white in the Disney movie because I'm sorry, it was white. I don't care what anybody says. But yeah, and I know in
like a hint of blue or like a hue of blue. You don't want to like. You're like no.
Well, it would have matched her, especially in the Disney version. I know it said that her mother died, and then the dad died, and the stepmother basically resented her, mistreated her, all of that, locked her in the tower, that kind of thing. So as far as the Greek, going back to the Grimm's brothers, he when she went to the ball and she lost that slipper, the prince searched for her. He did, and I'm hoping I got this correctly, but in one of the versions I read, that instead of going door to door, he ordered all the ladies of the kingdom to the palace. Now, I know in the Disney one, they were going door to door. And
Yeah.
even in the Disney one, it showed the stepsisters tried their hardest to fit the shoes in. I think that was the Grimm's one that did that. But like I said, it was just one of those.
But I think
Now,
it's no, never mind, never mind. So I was thinking of the Hilary Duff version of Cinderella. I don't think. No, okay, no. I was thinking. I went down a wrong rabbit hole. Continue.
mhm. Yeah, and one thing too is that not every version of this has magical elements. Not every version of them has like the godmothers. For some versions it has animals helping her, like in the Grimm's brother. So, comes to the point, they're all at the palace, they're all, trying on the shoes. Here comes the trigger warning part, and it does gross me out. The stepsisters, when it was their turn, they would go and cut off a toe or a heel, just like in the movie Into the Woods on Disney. They do stick to the Grimm's fairy tales as much as possible. I don't. That's just it's so weird that somebody would do that. But so obviously the shoe wasn't fitting. There was blood dripping down the sides. The prince discovered it. Now Cinderella had this spare shoe hidden behind her, and I think I read somewhere that the shoe was like screaming match.
But he's talking to Blimpy, and it's the cutest little sweetest thing ever.
Aww. But that is so cute. Oh, he's such an adorable little bug. Oh, he looks like he's entertained. Um,
Last week.
yeah. So,
I'm having a good day.
we are having a good day. It's a very good day. So anyway, so the spare golden shoe, or it's the spare shoe in some versions was like magnetized to Cinderella. So it's like it popped out to her. In some, it wasn't that way. Obviously, in the Disney version, Cinderella had the spare shoe in her pocket, which one thing that doesn't really make sense in the Disney version is if the spell wore off at midnight, how did she keep the shoes? You know, and I totally get with, Disney
Wait,
watering it down.
no. When she was running, I remember the shoe like evaporating off of her. When she was
I don't
running and she lost the slipper, it was right before midnight struck. Or it struck, and she goes, "Oh crap, I gotta get back," and she
right, but
runs,
how did
and it slipped.
right?
Magic probably had to catch up to the body for a few seconds, so she was able to get rid of
I
one foot.
I
Or why did
wonder
it not disappear though?
I wonder if it's because she lost the one shoe on the stairs and the whole get up the outfit wasn't complete.
But the dress disappeared, and she
The
went back
dress
to her.
disappeared. Yeah, she went back to that pink and white dress that was all torn up by the
Yeah.
stepsisters in the Disney version. But yeah, so it
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, yeah. I connected the dots.
but yeah, yeah. So now I know in the Disney version, the stepmother and the stepsisters come the wedding day, they're just standing there, resentfully taking part in the celebrations. Now, in some versions of Cinderella, Cinderella forgives her stepmother and stepsisters. Now, if anybody can find out what happened to the stepmother in the Grimm fairy tale or any other version, like especially some of the more violent ones, which I'm honestly curious about because I couldn't find a lot.
With that
I
said,
know.
Spotify listeners, I found a way to add a question to our episode. I am going to add that as a question. So people who want to do like extra credit work or they're just curious
Yes, yes.
find out and answer that for us. And thank you. in a vague.
Yes, definitely. Now, as far as the stepsisters go, and this is another part that does gross me out a little bit. Once the wedding happened and everything, Cinderella, I believe, in Into the Woods invited them or whatever. Doves actually came down and pecked the stepsister's eyes out as punishment for trying to be deceitful. And
Husband.
yeah, so that's one of the reasons why when I made the introduction, a lot of these stories are folklore. They're used to teach lessons. The one thing that, and I know it sounds horrid, with some of the things that go on, one thing to remember is that what you do in this world will come back to you. So what you put into it, you will get back. Some say threefold, tenfold, whatever. So if you're going to sit there, cut off your foot, cut off your toe, don't be surprised if you lose another body part because you're trying to be somebody you're not. You are your own unique individual person. You're not Cinderella. You're not, you don't have to be that way. You can choose to do good and not partake in evil like that. Because I mean, there's no sense in it. You're not going to win. Good wins every time. And in the Disney version, yeah, good did win. And with Disney, when he started out, like not a lot of people were catching on to a lot of the animated movies. So yeah, he did have to take fairy tales and butcher them up and make them into something that they're not.
Yeah,
So
but
that's
I also
that's
like isn't there like a, not like a fact, but there's some kind of like thing out there saying because um Walt Disney lost his own mother, that's why a lot of these characters don't have a mother. If you
oh my
notice,
gosh.
a lot of these characters don't have a mother. Ariel doesn't have a mom.
Her mom died. Ariel, Sleep Aurora did though, Sleeping Beauty. Cinderella didn't. Snow White didn't.
She had the
Oh my gosh.
stepmother. She had the fairy godmother, so she didn't have like a real. She had fairies taking.
Right.
She had magical creatures taking care of her. So
Hmm.
does that still count? Well, I get, yeah. If you're taking
No,
care of.
because if I would say biologically, no. Like, I
Okay,
mean,
you and I
it
are on the
makes
same page.
sense because it's kind of like how J.R.R. Tolkien, a lot of his Lord of the Rings are based off of his experiences in the war.
And that and that's
It
and that's like Peter Pan and the author with Peter Pan.
Steven Steven Spielberg, a lot of his movies have absent fathers because I believe his father was absent in his childhood. So a lot of these people will use their own life to influence what they make and put out there. So yeah, that's basically the origin of Cinderella. And if you guys want to know more, do your research because this is like really truly fascinating of where some of these come from.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, now my last story, going back to Peter Pan. I don't have a lot of comparisons of like the original story versus like what happened in the Disney,
Hmm.
but more. I'm gonna hit pause and make him some milk. This is something to drink real fast. Hold on. Back in. Okay, then we're back.
Yay!
Talk about mom life. I had to stop the recording for
Right?
a minute and give him juice because I forgot to give him juice before we hit record. I'm great. Mom brain
Right.
on point. Okay.
So
So
back to
okay.
Peter Pan.
Yes, like I was saying, I don't have a lot of. I had this one website that I was looking at and had a lot of like simulate like differences, but
Hmm.
I didn't like them in regards of what I feel about Peter Pan.
Hmm.
Peter Pan is a coming of age story. Like um there's a few things in this story that are very like figurative. I don't know if I said that right, but very figuratively, like if you think about it, you're like, oh shit, that is deep. Okay, so first thing first, Peter Pan was supposed to be the villain. He wasn't supposed to be the hero. And why is that?
Why?
Who comes? he kidnaps these kids. He comes into their bedrooms and kidnaps them, basically. So Peter Pan's a kidnapper, and it wasn't until later when J.M. Barrie went to go make the theater version of it, because if you guys have seen Finding Neverland with Johnny Depp and King Winslet. Yes, she is King. Kate Winslet. Sorry, she could do no wrong in my eyes. Okay. I love that she's an actress with fucking hips. That's all I got to say. All right. Teenage years. I looked up to her a lot because of her body, and just like I said, she is king. Anyway, that movie, y'all go watch it. Get a box of tissues. I will tell you, you will cry if you have a soul. Like it's very well written. It's very good. Johnny's excellent. Kate's excellent, but it's a tearjerker. Okay, so yeah, Captain Cook came only because of the theater version. They needed a contrast of some sort, and so J.M. Barrie
So there wasn't
switched things up, and
Captain Hook wasn't in the original?
not his original story. And now
Okay.
going back to what I read about J.M. Barrie and Finding Neverland, if you've seen it, you'll understand what Neverland really means. It's not a fantasy island or anything like that. The figurative side of Neverland is heaven. It's death. It's whatever the afterlife to you is. Like it's where the soul goes. Like think about that. So with that said, J.M. Barrie actually, he had lost his little brother at a young age. And then also in Finding Neverland, isn't there a moment where one of the little boys was sick? That
I know Kate Winslet played a sick role. I don't know about the boys.
Yes, okay. But yeah, that's right. She I guess they had done a where did I put it? Oh, okay, that's the dark side. Yeah, because pretty much the dark side of it, the Lost Boys are actually dead little boys. The Lost Boys represent all of the children that lost their lives at a young age. And if you think about it, the group of young boys, especially in the Disney movie, they're all different ages. So there's that deep in there. Here's another big thing for me that popped up that I didn't think about until I read that caption. Tinkerbell. Tinkerbell can only experience one emotion at a time. And for me, what I thought of was autism, was of like a kid on the spectrum of Asperger's. If you guys don't know, you know now, my oldest son is on the spectrum. So that's what triggered. I'm like, oh my God, William's Tinkerbell, pretty much. William is semi nonverbal, and he gets really passionate. Like you've heard it when you and I've had conversations, and I don't hear him right away, and he wants me to change the freaking channel. He's like, mine. He's yelling, and he doesn't give a what I'm doing. He's like, you better change the channel. I don't care about your conversation
right now, mother.
Yeah, like it's very like, and
right. Well, and my brother has Asperger's, so like I get that. And I mean, it is a hard condition to deal with as a parent, because I watched my dad struggle for years.
Like for me, okay, isn't it with Asperger's where they get obsessed with something? Because the reason why Asperger's came to my head with experiencing one emotion, if you think about it, we see Tinkerbell either extremely angry or extremely protective of people.
Kind of like a switch.
Yeah, but there's no in between. There's no just, hey, I'm Tinkerbell and I'm flying and being a fairy. There's none of that. She's either going to protect
That
Peter or she's mad
mhm.
that Wendy's in the picture.
Well, and that makes sense because from what my dad has told me that's happened when he was raising my brother, like there was an incident where he had hit another kid, and he looked at my dad, according, and this is according to my dad, he's like, Dad, I don't know what happened. I just, next thing I know, I blacked out. I don't know what caused me to do it. I don't know why I did it. So like I can see that in Tinkerbell. Like looking back now on the movie, it's there.
Now I know why they thought I had Asperger's as a kid. Little fun fact, there was a moment, that story you just said where he's like, oh, I don't know why I punched him, made me go back to a moment of mine where I was like in third grade, and my mom, back then, this was before they banned glass in lunchboxes and all that jazz. I had an obsession with peach iced tea from Snapple. And so my mom would randomly throw that into my lunch, yada, yada, yada. I do not know why. Still to this day, as an adult, going back, going, what was I thinking? I went up to a girl and said, do you want to see this break? Do you want to see glass break? Do you want to see what it looks like?
Hmm.
I guess she said okay, and I smashed it down in front of her. I could have gotten glass in her eye. I could have scratched her up from the debris.
Right.
And my mom, like, obviously, I got in trouble at the school. My mom comes in, I go home, I get suspended for like a day or two. And my mom and I are sitting there talking. She goes, why did you do it? And I said, I don't know. I just wanted to see it happen.
Hmm.
So I'm sitting here going, so wait, I even have to the theory that I think I have like autism to a point. But yeah, no, bam, you're making me really think. But yeah, okay, so mind blown right there. Going back to Peter Pan and like just pretty much the whole story, J.M. Barrie lost his brother at a young age due to like an ice skating accident. And I guess him and his parents called the brother, who I could think his name was David, the lost boy. He's a lost boy forever.
Oh,
He's
okay.
a lost boy forever. So that's where the Lost Boys comes in. And what's really cool
Okay.
is if you watch Peter Pan, the live version that came out in like early 2000s, that one is extremely close to the original story, to the point where even at the end of the story, you see Wendy come back with her brothers and she has the Lost Boys with her. And pretty much what happens is the Darlings, Wendy's parents, adopts them all. They go and start a adoption center from there, and yada yada yada. There's no more Lost Boys. But if you go to Finding Neverland, I think similar thing happened where they did go and open up when once Kate Winslet died, they said, hey, she went to Neverland.
No
So
wonder it's called Neverland.
yeah. So you'll never land. All right. I had to laugh and I had to
Ba-dum-ba-dum-bum.
laugh in the sadness. That's part of my charm. But um the dark side of Peter Pan, apparently he even tries to kill the Lost Boys so that they don't age. Because think about it, even Peter Pan himself, if these boys age, he's going to be by himself. He won't have
Hmm.
any friends, you know? So
Hmm.
they that bullet note makes no sense. So I'm not going to try to figure it out here live on this thing. But yeah, apparently Peter Pan was obsessed with death. They even said to the point, and I'm like, obsessed with death? But I guess if you're obsessed with not dying, then you are obsessed with death. Because if you thought about it, he didn't want to grow old and he didn't want to die. And oh man, but just when you think about the Lost Boys being dead little children, when you think about Neverland being heaven, when you think of Tinkerbell being autistic, yeah, it's just like part of me is
It's
kind of
crazy how many elements
yeah,
are involved in it.
like part of me, maybe it's the Capricorn in me, maybe it's just like the realistic mindset that I have, but I kind of wish Disney wasn't so cookie cutter. Like, give us some truth as a kid. Don't lie to us. You know, not saying that they lie. Like, oh well, one of these lies is that your Prince Charming will come. That lie right there. Hello. You know, like come on, Ariel effed me up to the point that like I was afraid to go after boys in high school. If I liked him from afar. I made this whole life story
Hmm.
of me and that person up in my head. Like that's how
Right.
crazy I got.
Well, right. No, I get that. And that kind of correlates a little bit as to my second story too,
Oh, we
which
still
is
need to
my
the second story.
favorite.
Yes.
Yeah, we still need to. It
I
is
remember we
my
were talking and yakking. I'm like, and we're almost up to the okay. This is going to be a little bit over an hour. I don't think it's going to be at the 36 mark. We're at 55, 55.
but
That 5555.
but okay. All right. So this is actually we're going to talk about Beauty and the Beast. Beauty and the Beast is my all-time favorite Disney. Yes, Belle is badass. I love her. I don't care what you say. This is the crazy part. This is actually loosely based off of a true story. And I say loosely for a specific reason. Because there was a man in 1537 in Spain that was born on the Canary Islands by the name of Petrus Gonsalves. It's actually it's the Latin name of his Spanish name. I forgot to write that down, but you guys are more than welcome to look it up. So apparently, this man had a condition called hypertrichosis, which is also like some people call werewolf syndrome, where they grow hair on body parts that they don't normally grow hair on. Now, back then, he was really bullied a lot as a child. I mean, he went had to have gone through a lot mentally, especially with having to deal with all of that and having to deal with all of that hair.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so he does have connections to royalty, but he was not of royal birth from what I read. Now, this is the time when the Medicis were big. You know, there was King Henry II in France. Um, he was held prisoner really, and just basically like in the carnies, you know, you see the freak show that they would have back in the early American times and whatnot.
Yeah.
He was used like that. He was exploited. So, however, there was a good moment in his life by he when he was held prisoner, he was gifted to King Henry II of France for his coronation in 1547. And you know, King Henry was cool. He took pity on this guy. He really did. He became his protector, which given his condition, that's understandable. Now, he educated him completely. Basically, a nobleman's education was given to what was considered a freak at the time. Um, now, we know that King Henry died of a jousting accident. Um, that was July 10th of 1559 when he died. Now, leaving this man in the hands of his wife, Catherine de' Medici. Now, I don't know if Catherine did it as a joke or if she wanted to experiment, but what she ended up doing is she ended up setting up an arranged marriage for this guy with a woman, oddly enough, named Catherine as well. Now, they were married for several years, like I think 40 years. I don't know. I'd have to double check. I could be grossly wrong on that number. They had 7 kids in total. 4 of them actually had the same condition that he did. Now,
I was curious about
um,
that.
yeah, so that's basically she turned into a mad scientist and wanted to see what would happen. Now, Catherine was the wife was beautiful. I feel she was in some of the pictures that I found. But like I said, this time this was a completely arranged marriage. And because of that, they decided to exploit those kids because they ended up moving around. They finally settled in Parma, Italy, and the kids were exploited. They were separated. I mean, there's accounts of, paintings or whatnot of this family, but the three normal kids were left out. They weren't included in the painting. Yeah. Yeah, because of
Isn't that a twist of events? Isn't that different? Usually it's like, okay, put the black sheep away. Don't show the black sheep. Show quote unquote normal. Wow.
right, right. And I mean, these four kids that had this syndrome, they were eventually separated and sold off as gifts or whatnot to other people. And it's really, really sad to see that happening because granted at the time they didn't understand his disease, they didn't understand how to treat it or whatever. So it's like, an oddity. Let's go look at an oddity. Let's go look at free show. We've got nothing better to do than to drink wine and spend our money. Let's go, do that. Now, with the Disney story, I love the Disney story, but it is nothing like, what actually happened to this guy. I know in the story, the beast was a prince. Now, that is somewhat loosely related to the guy because the guy was given, he actually was, if I remember correctly, and I did really bad notes on this time. He did eventually rise. I love Beauty and the Beast, but he did rise to an aristocratic level at some point, I believe.
Is this
So that's where,
right?
This is the in the original story. What the Disney version is loosely based off of, and I say loosely in all caps, whatever. I know. Well, and there wasn't really a lot of comparisons that I noticed. Now,
with Peter Pan and the comparisons that they had, it pretty much wasn't the direction I wanted to go with Peter Pan because of just the symbolism behind Peter Pan. They were like even talking about how Peter Pan didn't save Tiger Lily in the original because he was injured. I'm like, how is that going to be into the okay, goodbye.
Now, there was a story written, I believe, by a French author that I think Disney used that story that was supposedly inspired by this man. And it's actually a female author. And she had like a volume. Yeah, I was surprised. I know. And I need to look it up and then I'll tag it into the YouTube comments for everybody to see. But I was surprised because there was a female author and then there was a second one that everybody just basically did whatever they wanted off of the second one. And like I said, I'll double check. But like I said, I didn't see a lot of comparisons, but I know in some of the folklore that I did find on Beauty and the Beast, there wasn't Gaston. There wasn't, the enchanted clock, the candelabra, all of that. In some of these stories, these people.
No dance numbers either. No big balls.
No. Be our guest. Be our guest. But yeah, so in in some folklore, and this is gross. There's actually an old woman that basically raised the beast, and when he came of age, she wanted to sleep with him, but he didn't want it. So this woman put a curse on him, and then another good fairy or godmother or whatever came in and actually set a spell on the entirety of the castle and the land that castle was on, where everybody was frozen or sleeping. That way that secret could be kept. Now, Belle was a prisoner, and they didn't, some accounts,
when she got imprisoned, when she was,
because of the father wanted the rose, and I know in the movie it showed the single rose, but in some accounts it was like a branch of a bunch of roses. So the beast told the father, you either die or you give me a child in replacement. Now, I know that that's similar to what the Disney had. And then as far as like them falling in love and everything, Beast would visit Belle in her dreams as his human form. But she didn't recognize him because Belle had always known him as the Beast, not as a human. And he wanted to desperately tell her, hey, you know, this is me. Just I know I look like a human, but this is who I was before I was changed into the Beast. And she didn't she didn't understand it at all. And I just it is really mind blowing. And I unfortunately I didn't have enough time to look more into the rest of that because I ended up passing out last night before I finished reading.
And then also at the same time, you came to me for some boy advice, and I fucking opened Pandora's box in your brain, and I think you went down that rabbit hole. But that goes, oh my god, that reminds me of
Yeah.
conversations I've had with you in private.
Oh,
Uh,
I got another account fact. So in some accounts, Belle had siblings.
okay.
So, and I know in the movie she didn't have any siblings at all, but Belle, she was the youngest. She was well educated from what her father could give to her. I think she was
Go back to
favorited a
that
lot.
because she was a reader. That's what I loved about her. She loved books, and she didn't have any siblings.
And that's one thing in the live action version of Beauty and the Beast that I did like is they did stick to that because in a
Okay.
lot of these accounts, you know, these siblings that she quote unquote had, they were jealous of her. They were jealous that her father favored her. They were jealous that she knew more than they did. They were just very mean and spiteful people.
Hmm.
And you know, from what I understood, she didn't really care because I mean, she didn't wasn't really concerned with all of that or with whatever her siblings quote unquote wanted, whether it be marriage or whatever. She just wanted to help her dad, and then she
Yeah.
gets caught up in this mess. um but it's really one thing that I really admired that Disney stuck to, especially when it comes to these other accounts, is that love, you don't choose love. Love chooses you. You know, you
Yes.
take that time, you get to know somebody, get to know who they are, what they don't like, because you'd be surprised. You'll end up with the last person you ever expected, you
I
know? And that's why, a
believe
lot
in
of these
that too.
people, and even in today's day and age, you see the LGBTQ community and how much hate they're getting. Well, I'm sorry, it goes back to love is love. You
Yeah.
don't decide it, it decides for you. You fall in love with whomever you fall in love with. You can't run from it. You can't hide from it. It just happens. It can be a mother to a child like you and I,
Yeah.
or it could be like you and I as friends, or girl crushes. It could be our obsession with Johnny Depp, or my spicy dreams about Elon Musk, apparently, which that was really, I don't know what I was doing to earn that or deserve that dream or whatever, but that was just like hit me out of nowhere. But that
Were
is
you
one thing that I
thinking as you
really,
were falling asleep? Maybe. Were you thinking dirty? If you were thinking dirty as you were falling asleep, then that could have triggered Elon Musk.
I don't
So
know, but there's been some things about Elon Musk lately in the news that it's like, dude, really?
I know people
But
just come up.
yes.
I'm like, has Lee read this? Is Lee aware of this? Lee, honey, are we sure about this one?
Right. But yeah, so I feel like despite the fact that there is some inaccuracies as far as the original accounts, one thing that I feel like we can agree on that Beauty and the Beast does teach us is to look beneath the surface and accept somebody for who they truly are. And as
Yep.
hard as it might be to see past that, we need to actively do what we can, because anymore these days with what's going on in the world, love is the key to a lot of the problems that we're having. If we can take that moment, swallow our pride, and be like, here's my hand, take it, I will walk with you, then I think that we would be a lot better off.
Yeah, and it's like that
That,
with
or if we
Ariel.
give every human being a joint and we all smoke it at the same time, there'd be about 2 hours apiece.
Yeah, well, if it's strong, it'll be longer than 2 hours. Just saying. But it's like that
Right.
with Ariel, where don't change yourself for a dude. Like, like no matter
You
what,
are
there's a
beautiful
woman
just the
who
way
is
you
single.
are.
She fell in love with someone and goes, "Oh my God, I have no legs. I have to change my physical appearance to be with this dude." And then she gets in the moment and she goes, "This isn't me. This isn't me at all. Oh my God, oh my God, I got to get out of here." So, Beauty and the
Do
Beast.
you think this is going to be a little random, but do you think Peter Pan could actually be the Grim Reaper in a way, maybe? Or because if you think about it, he does like
Yeah.
if Neverland is like a heavenly place for dead kids or whatever. What
Yes,
if
and
he's
that
a
will
Grim
go
Reaper
back
coming
to
to collect these souls?
that will actually kind of go back to the dark side of Peter Pan, the note that I wrote that I'm like, how am I going to connect it to what I just said? But I could connect it to what you just said. It said when I Googled Peter Pan or whatever, and it had a little like, how when you Google one thing and it gives you like other options of,
1,000.
and I saw the one of the dark side of Peter Pan, and I wrote down the little paragraph. It says Peter Pan kills the Lost Boys from aging. This presents the view that Peter Pan is eternal youth, in fact, obsessed with death. So, yeah,
It's well, and it's amazing what Hollywood will take and use to create a story for us. I saw Peter Pan Shadow.
one of my Peter Pans, yes. Oh, I can't call him a lost boy. I started to call, I used to call William and AJ the Lost Boys. Now I can't call them. As a mother, fuck that. No, Mike, no.
Well,
No.
it really is a mind blowing thing when you really go into your research about stuff like this, especially when it comes to something you grew up with, and you're like, "What in the
Well,
world? Like,
that's
how did this
what
happen?" You know?
it is. That movie with Johnny Depp and Kate, when we got to the end
They did a beautiful job in that
and he
movie.
said she found Neverland, I went, Neverland is dead? Neverland is heaven? What the? What the? What? Like, it messed my teenage years up for that. Like, when I can't even remember how old I was when I watched that, but I was like, it was not the
I
same.
remember when I first saw Peter Pan, I was go visiting my dad when he was stationed in I think he was stationed in Fort Campbell, Kentucky, but I think he lived outside of it or near there or whatever. But I went with him for Christmas for 2 weeks and he popped that movie in. And ever since then, I'd been obsessed with it. Like, not like overly obsessed,
But just
but
drawn to it. Yeah, I know
hmm
for me, I was always drawn to it, and I thought it was because of the mermaids. But I think now the Tinkerbell autism connection that I made today on my own, I didn't find that on the internet. Don't. I love you. I love you. Don't. Okay, you good? You good? Okay, happiness. He's so hyper. I can see it in his face. He's ready for mommy to play. We're almost
oh,
done, guys.
I know. He's like, hurry up, mom.
He's like, I've been good. I haven't bugged you. I haven't cried. And I'm about to hit the button. But yeah, no, like even going back to my obsession with mermaids, and then when you realize what mermaids actually did, where they lured in men. And then what was cool, what I read in connections to the Peter Pan mermaids and all of that is when the moon changed, when the moon was going through their faces, that's when the mermaid could change into the siren that would come and pretty much take
There
those
is
pirate souls down to the bottom and do what they
there is an
do.
actual Irish folklore on mermaids where it's like a red cap. And if you captured that red cap from the mermaid, then that mermaid belonged to you. Now, there was one that did that, married the mermaid, and he had that red cap hidden away for years. I mean, like they had kids. She found that cap and went back to the sea first chance she got.
Wasn't there? I'm gonna have to go back and watch it, but the last true Pirates of the Caribbean. When I say that, because it has Johnny Depp in it, they come out one without Johnny. I hope we all protest and flip birds and say, he's not my Jack. I'm not gonna go see it. But
if Disney hadn't fucked up, they'd still have Johnny.
in the last movie, there was something with the mermaids, and you would see them be like sirens, and then they would get captured and stuff, and they were able to.
I wonder, because now I want to go back and watch that last one that came out.
Should we have a play date later after I go pick up William?
Let me see what I'm doing because I got to get some soup made, and then I've got a friend of mine coming over too. So let me see what time. Not like that.
But no. I wasn't even thinking like that, you hoe.
Hey, from one hoe to another, I love you too.
I know about my hoe days in 17 and 20s. Well, 20s was just fun hoe days. I know nothing.
I really wish we lived closer together. That would make a world of difference, I think.
You don't belong in Indiana. You belong in LA. I'm sorry. Why is there a water bottle?
Okay, so my psoriasis, right?
See, more
I've had
reason to come to LA.
I've had goosebumps this entire recording because it's cold because somebody decided to create fucking snow.
Canada from your friend Sarah will help you with that. Just saying.
I know.
Over here. Have you, listeners, watchers, have you ever had that one friend where you know there's something you can help them with, and you know that there's something that will cure it, and they're just like, oh, I will. This is this moment. I've been trying to get this woman to get some Canadula balsam cream from my company. No,
I will have to get it with
here, but
I'll have to invest with my first or second check. I'm going to do it. It's just once. No, yeah.
No, I know.
Anyways,
I'm not trying to make you feel away, but I'm just trying to be cute and fun. I'm like, hey,
no, I want to. I do. I really want to because I feel like with the whole European standards, it's a lot better than American standards because it's like you got all this extra crap. Like, I think I was watching the show yesterday called Foods That Built America. Did you know they used to put laundry detergent inside ice cream way back when? Yeah, and it's to keep the whiteness of it.
Ice cream?
And the Good Humor ice cream guy, that it was right around when Good Humor, when they first put ice cream on popsicle sticks and did that chocolate candy coating on it. So
I
because
love ice cream. Like, this will not be ruined.
they don't. I mean, obviously they don't do it anymore. But back then, that's what they did.
But the next time you go and pick up a freaking ice cream on a stick that has chocolate coating, you bite down. How can you not think about detergent now?
Well, it's the Foods That Built America. I know it's on Hulu. I don't know what other platforms it's on, but yeah, it's.
I forgot to mention something earlier in the podcast.
Yes, ma'am. What'd you forget?
So in our mommy check-in, when you said you were writing things out, I wanted to add to that, and I forgot.
Okay.
While as you're writing, another like writing prompt that you could do is write a moment, like a day, like in 5 years. Write it as if it's actually happening. Example, I'm going to use the example that I am living with my second child. All right, I wrote this right before I went into work for the restaurant. I had just started my network marketing business. I was getting into personal development. I was getting into journaling. I was getting into all the things. And I came across this one journal called something, but it was from somebody in that company that I was in. She had a writing prompt going, okay, do a diary journal of what happened today in 5 years. What will happen in 5 years from today? Like, what is the day going to be like? Like, okay, all right, so what do I want in 5 years? Okay. Like, I want another kid. I want a little girl. Right? And so I'm writing this out, and I write, are you kidding? underestimate her. She is 3 years old, and she's just about to turn 3. William's 5. They're a few weeks apart from each other. AJ is 3 years apart from his big brother, and their birthdays are 2 weeks apart. The only thing that changed from what I wrote was boy to girl. So
Right, that makes sense.
So I'm just saying, like, whatever you write, like, and if you want to manifest something from the future, write it out like if it is actual.
Right. Kind of like when our teachers would have us write letters to ourselves from the future.
Yes.
Type thing.
What that's going to do is, as you're writing it as fact, as you're writing it, you're going to get excited. You're like, oh my God, like my day in 5 years. Oh my God, yay. So that emotion is creating energy. And that energy, you're going to push it up to God, to the universe, to whoever you believe in. Then they're going to work. You got to let go of, like, okay, all right, like, I wrote it. It is what it is. Let go of it. Live your life. And then before you know it, you'll be locked up.
Makes sense.
So I wanted to add that because it's something for me that I don't believe in affirmations. Like, I love a good affirmation. I love a good quote. Like, I'll read a quote and be like, yeah, right? But I'm not one of those, like, I am enough. I am brave. I am a good woman. I don't do that. That's not my thing. I like to literally picture me in a moment. Like, and I just sit there and think, what would it be like to be in that moment? And that's my affirmation. That's what gets me excited. And that's what gets me moving and grooving. So I wanted to add that to
Right.
it.
No, that's a good idea. I'll definitely start incorporating that into it. But
yeah, but now that you said journaling, that means that I got to get back into my journaling. And I'm very lazy in journaling, so you might have to be on my ass about that.
Me too.
Because I created a baby the last time I did it consistently. So at this point, maybe I could write about my dream house and make that come out. Maybe I could give birth to a house instead of a kid.
Maybe.
I'm definitely done having kids.
We'll see.
I'm done. I'm good. I'm tapping.
I want a son. I want one more, and I want a boy so bad.
I do want a girl. But
okay, I got it. We'll start a commune, and you can raise my girls, and I can raise your boys. So you have your daughters, and I have my boys.
Done deal. Let's go. Let's do this. Let's do this. Like, come on. And I'll make it a homestead. Right? We have cows and animals.
Do we have chickens? I want chickens
and
llamas.
Fucking make my
we need llamas.
Bread all day long. I'm happy. Just give me a space to make bread, because I've been banned from making bread in my house because of our roach problem, thanks to this old ass building we live in LA. Yeah. And for all those people who think LA is so glamorous, I would like to tell you, it's not. It's hella expensive, and your roommates are roaches. Okay, all right, I'm
Did
good.
you name any of them, Bob?
We should probably wrap this up.
Yeah. Yeah, we should, because I got to get some stuff done still anyway, so.
Yeah, and I have to go get William in like 45 minutes, so, and someone still needs their lunch. Mr. Hyperboy. So, okay,
I better feed him, he's a hungry boy.
Do we have a plan for the next podcast subject? Because it's October, we're still in spooky season. What kind of spookiness do we want to go
next? Origins of Halloween, like Samhain.
Or do you want to do that the week of Halloween? Because we technically have. Wait. I love how we're trying to figure this out in the podcast. Yeah, we're great. Oh wait, technically.
Spoiler alert.
No, technically, yes, we can, because next Wednesday will be the week of Halloween, because Halloween is
right
following Monday. So yeah, all right, yeah.
Right, yeah.
So
we can do that, and then if any of our listeners have any, like, I guess you could say cultural traditions or whatnot, just leave that in the comments on this YouTube video or whatever, and then we'll try to include that maybe in the next time. Because I want to get a good look around the world as to what other people do to celebrate it.
Also, if anyone has suggestions that they want us to cover, like any women that you've been obsessed with of history that you want us to like dig deep about, leave it in the comments.
Yeah, and we'll definitely put that on Spotify, because I know you said you figured out the question thing. So definitely do that as well, and we will look into it, because we've got a lot of stuff planned that we want to do coming up, and a lot of ideas and stuff like that. And we always appreciate and are grateful when our listeners definitely give us ideas too. So
and the biggest and cheapest way y'all can help us get this out is like, subscribe, rate, comment, and share us like Dirty Horse, please.
Yes.
Like, help us get this out and
pimp us out
like Dirty Hose. That we are. Okay. Whew.
I hope my priest, I hope Sarah.
What?
I hope the priest of my parish doesn't see that part. The priest of my parish, if he ever sees this, he's probably going to be thinking, "I'll see you in confession next."
He's going to be praying for my soul. That's what he sees me. He's like, "Oh, her soul."
Yes, thank you guys so much for joining us on this. I definitely appreciate it, and I definitely enjoy doing this, and I'm so excited. I can't wait to do more for you guys.
And next week is number 6, and once we get through it, we've made it in the big world, even if our numbers don't show it, but we've made it in our heads.
Yes.
So, yes, thank you guys. We love you, and it's another hour-and-a-half episode.
Hey, you know what? We're women. What do you expect from us?
Yeah, you know what?
We don't know how to shut up.
No, and yeah, amen to that. So, and my thing is, if I could sit and listen to a 2-hour Bravo recap episode, someone's going to be listening to an hour and 30 minutes of us talking smack.
For sure.
Okay. All right. Now let's go back into mom mode. Like, yeah.
Did you pause the podcast?
Okay. Are you saying bye? All right. Let's say bye.
Bye.